Hello everyone, my name is Sione, my last name Pulu. I come from a village in Tonga named Kolonga. I grew up in a family that belonged to a Tongan church, and later on in my life I converted to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and my mom asked me what my plan will be, and I said the right thing. I'm gonna go after school, I'm gonna go serve a mission, marry in the temple and carry on my study. And exactly what mom wanted to hear. When I came to New Zealand, I realized I didn't speak in English that well. When I start working, I always think of myself as I can't do that. You know, I can't. When I look at it now, I always lower myself for what I was, in those days. And I realized that what I had from Tonga in secondary high school was enough for me to move forward, from there. So when our third son came, when I applied for paternity leave, they didn't able to give me that leave. So our plan was set and I had to resign. But after 6 months, they rang me and asked me if I can come back and work as a leading hand. So for me, in my mind, I have no chance to do any education because I'm too busy, until I met with a very nice man who was a former state prison, and he told me he got his degree while he was a state prison. It wowed me for a whole week. I remember going home and share with my wife because I can't believe it that someone is a state prison and yet still have opportunity to further his education.
I can remember that night that it was after a missionary fireside, and we were talking, and I shared with him my experience of how I had got my education later in life, and while I was serving as a state president, and you could see him kind of thinking, wow, hang on, maybe I can do this, maybe this is not something I have to wait for.
Talking about education is not about smart, but about courage, and about making decisions, about sacrifice. That's where I make the decision to further my education, even as a state prison. I still have that little fear to move forward. So I make a decision to attend Pathway and graduate from Pathway just to be a good example to my family and to the member of the state. That's the original idea of going to be an example, but I realized it's not for the member of the church, of the state. This is really for me, myself. I always think education is the key to move forward in everything. But I think I have fear of failing, fear of shame and things like that. I remember when I walked into the Pathway class for the first time, and most of the class, they know I'm a state prison, and they surprised themselves because how can you have the time, as a state prison to be in a Pathway? Because I'm working full time, and I have a family, and I have a calling. And all these things you have to balance yourself in order to move forward altogether. The first week when I attended Pathway, I wanted to quit because it was so hard. But that's the principle that I learned in Pathway. Determination. You have to determine what to do and stuck to it and make sure you finish it. Sacrifice. Man, when there's an all-black game, there's a challenge for me, I have to stop it, in order for me to focus and finish what I have to do. When you understand the doctrine of education, then your attitude and your behavior will change toward education. So now you're not treated as a good idea, but now you treat it as a commandment. And when you keep the commandment, you have no fear. I thought education is all for well-off family. They grew up in Tonga, or they always have education. But along the way, I learned that education is for everybody. It's just a matter of having courage, willing to sacrifice, and willing mind and willing heart, as the scriptures say. If I can do it with, of how I think of myself, I'm pretty sure everybody can do it.